The planet is screaming. Invisible forces are at work, reshaping the world we know. Glaciers are vanishing, oceans are swallowing coastlines, and storms are growing stronger, fiercer, unstoppable. Every day, we edge closer to a tipping point, a threshold from which there may be no return. But what if the catastrophe wasn't sudden, but quietly building, layer by layer, hidden in the smoke of our cities, in the fumes of our factories, in the heat trapped beneath the clouds? This is the story of climate change, the slow, silent, yet terrifying transformation of our planet. In this documentary, we unravel the mystery behind the warming Earth. We trace its origins, uncover the forces driving it, and explore why some countries are already paying the highest price. The truth is shocking. The solutions exist. But will we act before it's too late? Earth's climate has always changed. Ice ages came and went. Volcanoes erupted. Oceans shifted. But what's happening now is different. The changes are faster, stronger, and directly linked to human activity. At the heart of this phenomenon is something almost invisible: greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide. These gases trap heat in the atmosphere, turning our planet into a pressure cooker of rising temperatures. Scientists call it the greenhouse effect, a natural process that has kept Earth warm for millions of years. But we have turned this natural system into a ticking bomb. Since the Industrial Revolution, we have burned massive amounts of fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas, releasing billions of tons of CO into the atmosphere. Each smokestack, every car exhaust, every factory has contributed to this invisible blanket, trapping heat and shifting weather patterns. It's not just CO. Methane, released from livestock and landfills, is 28 times more powerful at trapping heat than carbon dioxide. Nitrous oxide, emitted by fertilizers, adds another dangerous layer. The science is chilling. Global temperatures are rising faster than at any time in the past 2,000 years. The warning signs are already visible in the heat waves that shatter records, the wildfires that engulf continents, and the storms that leave cities in ruins. To understand the present, we must look back. Before industrialization, atmospheric CO hovered around 280 parts per million. But then came the age of machines and factories. Steam engines pumped smoke into the sky, and humans became a force capable of reshaping the climate itself. By the early 20th century, scientists noticed subtle changes: melting glaciers, earlier springs, but these were dismissed as minor fluctuations. It wasn't until the 1970s that warnings grew louder. Researchers tracked rising CO levels and discovered an alarming trend. Human activity was no longer a footnote. An Earth's storiette had become the author. Since then, emissions have skyrocketed. The very atmosphere, once a protective shield, began to suffocate under humanity's weight. So, who are the main culprits behind this crisis? First, fossil fuels: coal, oil, and natural gas. Built modern civilization, but today they account for over 70% of global greenhouse gas emissions. The very fuels that built our cities are now accelerating their destruction. Second, deforestation. Forests are Earth's lungs, absorbing CO. But every year, an area of forest roughly the size of Panama disappears, releasing carbon stored for centuries. Without trees, the planet loses one of its most powerful defenses. Third, industrial agriculture. It feeds billions, but it also produces vast amounts of greenhouse gases. Livestock alone emits methane, a gas far more potent than CO. Fertilizers release nitrous oxide, another deadly heat-trapping gas. Fourth, urbanization. Modern cities are heat traps. Concrete and asphalt absorb and radiate heat, creating urban heat islands. This effect intensifies heat waves, particularly in developing nations. And finally, pollution. Air pollution is not just toxic, it changes the climate. Aerosols and black carbon darken ice sheets, accelerating their melt and dangerously altering weather systems across continents. Even before the dramatic storms of recent decades, nature sent subtle messages: glaciers retreating silently in the Alps and Himalayas, coral reefs bleaching, losing their vibrant life to warmer seas, rainfall patterns shifting, leading to droughts in some regions and floods in others. These were warnings from a planet under stress. What makes climate change truly terrifying is that it is a disaster we are creating ourselves. Industrialized nations built wealth by burning fossil fuels. Developing nations, striving for growth, are now following a similar path. Our global consumption patterns add layers of greenhouse gases every day. This has pushed CO levels to over 420 parts per million, the highest in at least 800,000 years. The last time Earth experienced such levels, sea levels were dozens of meters higher. The consequences are already unfolding. Storms stronger than anything recorded, heat waves killing thousands, and coastal cities slowly drowning. Some regions, like low-lying island nations and arid lands, face immediate threats. Others will feel the effects in decades, when water scarcity and crop failures become impossible to ignore. The stage is set. The culprits are known: fossil fuels, deforestation, agriculture, pollution. The planet's distress signals are clear, but this is only the beginning. In this documentary, we will explore the devastating consequences of climate change, revealing the shocking toll it is already taking and the regions most at risk from this global crisis. The world is already paying the price for decades of neglect. What was once our protective shield, the atmosphere, has now become a furnace. Oceans are warming, glaciers are vanishing, and storms are growing stronger, their fury leaving utter destruction in their wake. What once felt distant and abstract is now undeniable, immediate, and deadly. Global temperatures have risen by about 1.2 degrees Celsius since we started burning fossil fuels. That might sound small, but even a fraction of a degree triggers a cascade of consequences. Heat waves are now more frequent, more intense, and far more deadly. Every single summer, cities in Europe, North America, and Asia are shattering temperature records. In 2023 alone, over 1 billion people experienced extreme heat, with hundreds of thousands suffering from heat-related illnesses. And this impact isn't uniform. The polar regions are warming twice as fast as the rest of the world. This is a phenomenon known as Arctic amplification. The massive ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica are melting at rates we've never seen before, directly contributing to rising seas. As the permafrost thaws, it releases huge amounts of methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide. This creates a terrifying feedback loop that just accelerates the warming even more. This melting ice is causing our seas to rise. Glaciers all around the world are retreating at a shocking pace. The Himalayan glaciers, which are vital for Asia's major rivers, are shrinking, threatening the water supply of over 1 billion people. In the Arctic, sea ice has declined by more than 40% in the last 40 years, disrupting entire marine ecosystems and the lives of indigenous communities who depend on them. Sea level rise is no longer a distant threat. Coastal cities like Venice, Miami, and Dhaka are already facing flooding more and more frequently. Scientists are warning that if we continue on this path, hundreds of millions of people could be displaced by the end of this century. Entire island nations like the Maldives and Tuvalu might disappear completely, their populations forced to migrate, leaving behind cultures and histories submerged forever beneath the waves. The warming planet is also fueling extreme weather events of terrifying intensity. Hurricanes and typhoons are becoming more destructive because the oceans are warmer. These supercharged storms carry more energy, they rain harder, and they cover much larger areas. Wildfires have become a global epidemic, devastating forests in Australia, the Amazon, California, and Siberia. The 2020 Australian fires alone destroyed 18 million hectares, killed billions of animals, and displaced thousands of people. And here's a strange paradox. Floods and droughts are happening at the same time in different parts of the world. The Sahel region in Africa is suffering from crippling droughts, while at the same time, South Asia faces catastrophic floods every single monsoon season. The shocking truth is that these disasters are not just random events. They are symptoms of a planet in a deep crisis. This crisis is dismantling ecosystems with relentless precision. Coral reefs, the beautiful rainforests of the sea, are bleaching at an alarming rate. The Great Barrier Reef has lost over half of its coral cover in just 3 decades due to warming oceans. Forests are dying, deserts are expanding, and species are disappearing faster than ever before. A major international report warns that 1 million species are at risk of extinction, many directly because their habitats are being destroyed by climate shifts. These losses are not isolated incidents. They create a domino effect on food chains, water systems, and even our own livelihoods. As these ecosystems collapse, the natural safety net that has sustained human civilization for thousands of years is beginning to unravel. the human toll of climate change is vast and complex. Let's start with food security. Changing rainfall patterns, droughts, and floods are all disrupting agriculture. Crops are failing, harvests are shrinking, and food prices are soaring. Nations in Africa, South Asia, and Central America are especially vulnerable, where farming relies heavily on predictable rainfall. Then there's water scarcity. Melting glaciers and shifting rainfall threaten our freshwater supplies. By the year 2050, up to 3.5 billion people could be experiencing severe water stress. Cities that once thrived on mighty river systems may soon find themselves running dry. This also triggers major health crises. Heat waves, malnutrition, and the spread of diseases are becoming more common. For example, as temperatures rise, the habitats of mosquitoes expand, leading to more malaria and dengue fever outbreaks in regions that were previously unaffected. As livelihoods disappear and resources dwindle, people are forced to move. Climate refugees are already a reality, and this is creating social tensions and even conflicts. Countries like Bangladesh, already densely populated and low-lying, face the unimaginable prospect of losing millions of their citizens to rising seas. The economic cost of these disasters is staggering. Over the past 2 decades, hurricanes, wildfires, and floods have caused trillions of dollars in damages globally, wrecking economies and making inequality even worse. While climate change is a global problem, its impacts are not shared equally. Take Bangladesh, for instance. Its low-lying terrain makes it extremely vulnerable to sea level rise and cyclones. Millions of people live under the constant threat of flooding, which devastates their homes and farms. The Maldives, an entire island nation, is at risk of being completely submerged, facing a true existential threat. In Pakistan, the melting glaciers in the Himalayas threaten the water supply for millions, while intense heat waves and floods become more common. Across many African nations, droughts and desertification in the Sahel region are making food and water insecurity worse, which in turn fuels migration and conflict. And small island developing states are vulnerable to both rising seas and stronger storms, with very limited resources to adapt or recover. Meanwhile, the industrialized nations, which are historically responsible for most of the emissions, have more resources to protect themselves. This creates a stark and unjust contrast between cause and effect. Those who contributed the least to the problem are often the ones who suffer the most. Let's look at some shocking statistics. The average global temperature has risen 1.2 degrees Celsius. Atmospheric CO2 concentration is at 420 parts per million, the highest it's been in 800,000 years. The Arctic has lost 40% of its sea ice in just 40 years. The Great Barrier Reef has lost 50% of its coral cover in 3 decades. By 2050, 3.5 billion people could be at risk of water stress, and 1 million species are at risk of extinction. These aren't just projections, they are our unfolding reality, warning signs of a planet that has been pushed to its limits. Behind every number is a human life, disrupted and devastated. Families in coastal Bangladesh are building their homes on stilts just to survive the rising tides. Farmers in sub-Saharan Africa are watching their crops fail year after year, uncertain how they will feed their children. Indigenous communities in the Arctic are witnessing the collapse of the very ecosystems that have sustained them for centuries. These stories are the human face of climate change, a powerful reminder that this crisis is not abstract, it is not distant. It is here, it is now, and it is escalating. The consequences are no longer theoretical. They are real, they are devastating, and they are disproportionately affecting the most vulnerable among us. But even as the planet warms and ecosystems collapse, solutions do exist. Scientists, innovators, and policymakers are developing ways to slow, reverse, and adapt to climate change. Renewable energy, reforestation, carbon capture, and sustainable agriculture are all tools we must use, but the challenge ahead is massive, urgent, and global. We will explore these solutions, revealing how nations, communities, and you, as an individual, can act to prevent a catastrophe that threatens our collective future. The stakes could not be higher, and we are running out of time. The warnings are clear. The devastation is real. But amid the smoke, the floods, and the heat waves, there is a glimmer of hope, a chance to change course before the clock runs out. The question is not whether we can act, but whether we will. The scale of climate change is staggering. We see it in the news every day. Unprecedented wildfires, catastrophic floods, and record-breaking temperatures. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to feel like the problem is too big to solve. But solutions do exist. Some are already in action, and others are emerging with incredible speed. Around the world, governments, scientists, and everyday people are fighting to slow the warming, reduce greenhouse gases, and adapt to the changes we can no longer reverse. This isn't just a story of doom and gloom. It's a story of innovation, resilience, and the fight for our future. Can humanity turn the tide? Let's find out. One of the most powerful weapons in our arsenal is the renewable energy revolution. The concept is simple. Replace the fossil fuels that are choking our atmosphere with clean, limitless power from the sun, wind, and water. For decades, this seemed like a distant dream, but today, it's a reality. Countries like Denmark, Germany, and China are leading the charge. They're building massive wind farms that stretch for miles, vast solar arrays that glitter in the desert sun, and smart, sustainable grids to power their cities. Think about it. Every single gigawatt of renewable energy we bring online is a step away from our dependence on oil and coal. It's a direct blow to the emissions that are driving climate change, and it's happening faster than anyone predicted. But what about the carbon that's already in our atmosphere? We can't just stop emitting, we also need to clean up the mess we've already made. This is where incredible new technologies come into play. Scientists are developing innovative methods for carbon capture and storage, or CCS. This technology can literally pull carbon dioxide out of the air. It can trap emissions directly from the source, like a power plant, before they ever reach the atmosphere. Some experimental projects are already sequestering millions of tons of carbon every year, locking it safely away deep underground. While it's not a magic bullet, carbon capture is a crucial tool that could help us reverse decades of pollution and buy us precious time. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones that have been here all along. Forests are the lungs of our planet. They breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out the oxygen we need to survive. For centuries, we've been cutting them down at an alarming rate, but now a global movement is underway to bring them back. Initiatives like the Trillion Tree campaign aim to plant billions of trees, reforesting vast areas of land. This isn't just about planting saplings, it's about restoring entire ecosystems, protecting biodiversity, and creating a powerful natural carbon sink. Halting deforestation and conserving the wild places we have left is a simple, low-tech solution with massive benefits for our climate and our planet's health. Our fight against climate change also begins on our plates. The way we grow, produce, and consume food has a huge impact on the environment. Modern agriculture often relies on chemical fertilizers that release greenhouse gases, and livestock farming is a major source of methane. But a shift is happening. Farmers are adopting sustainable practices like crop rotation and minimizing fertilizer use to reduce their carbon footprint. At the same time, a global trend towards more plant-based diets is making a real difference. Simply reducing food waste at home is a powerful action, because every bit of food that ends up in a landfill contributes to emissions. Changing our food systems is a challenge, but it's one where every single one of us can participate. Of course, technology and individual actions can only go so far without global cooperation. The scale of this crisis requires a coordinated worldwide response. The Paris Agreement, signed in 2015, was a landmark moment. For the first time, nearly every nation on Earth agreed to work together to limit global warming, aiming for a target of 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Progress has been slow, and the promises made are not always kept, but the agreement set a clear direction. More and more countries are committing to ambitious emission reduction targets, investing in climate finance for developing nations, and accelerating their transition to renewable energy. These international agreements are the political backbone of the climate fight. This brings us to a critical point. This fight isn't just for governments and scientists. Change starts with us. Individuals and communities have immense power to drive this transition. It's about the small choices we make every day that add up to a big impact. We can reduce our energy consumption by switching to efficient appliances or simply turning off the lights. We can choose to walk, bike, or use public transportation instead of driving. We can adopt more sustainable diets by eating less meat and wasting less food. We can support renewable energy by advocating for green policies in our local communities. And perhaps most importantly, we can educate ourselves and raise awareness. Share what you learn, talk to your friends and family, join environmental groups. Collective action begins with a single voice, and your voice matters. When we look at the global map of climate action, a complex picture emerges. Some nations are clearly leading the way. Countries like Norway, Sweden, and Denmark have made huge investments in renewable energy and have set ambitious goals to become carbon neutral. Costa Rica is already running on nearly 100% renewable electricity and is aggressively reforesting its land. Even China, while still heavily reliant on coal, has become the world's largest investor in solar and wind power. But there's another side to this story. Many developing countries, the ones who are often hit hardest by floods, droughts, and rising seas, lack the resources to adapt. This is the great inequity of climate change. Those who contributed the least to the problem are paying the heaviest price. This isn't just an environmental issue. It's a moral and political challenge that we must confront. So, where are we headed? Climate scientists use models to forecast our future, and they see two very different paths. In the best-case scenario, we act decisively. We limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. We rapidly transition to renewable energy, reforest our planet, and scale up carbon capture technologies. In this world, weather patterns begin to stabilize. Ecosystems start to recover, and the worst impacts of climate change are averted. But there is also a worst-case scenario. If we fail to act, global warming could exceed 3 or even 4 degrees. In this future, the oceans rise by meters, flooding coastal cities and displacing hundreds of millions of people. Extreme weather becomes the new normal. We face mass extinctions, widespread crop failures, and critical water shortages. This isn't science fiction, it's a real possibility. The terrifying truth is that we are the deciding factor. Our actions right now, today, will determine which of these scenarios becomes our reality. The clock is ticking. Every ton of carbon we emit, every tree we cut, every fossil fuel we burn, accelerates the disaster. But we are not powerless. The choices we make as governments, communities, and individuals will decide the fate of billions of lives and the planet itself. Will we wait until the storms destroy our cities and the seas drown our lands, or will we act now, with urgency and with courage? The time for debate has passed. The time for action is now. What do you think is the most urgent action humanity should take? How is climate change affecting where you live? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice is crucial in this global fight. The planet is changing. The storms are coming. The seas are rising. And yet, in this moment of crisis, there is hope if we choose to act. The power to save our future lies in our hands. Will we rise to the challenge, or will we watch the world we know slip away? The answer is ours to decide. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more content that matters.